To the one person who blogged that I am somehow being paid by a pharmaceutical company to run this line, I say to you...
Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 117 for the 14th of January 2011. Richard Saunders here with you once again, back in Sydney, Australia. Thank you to Maynard, to Brian Dunning, and to George Hrubb for filling in for me over the past few weeks. On this week's show, Maynard has an interview with Gary Kennedy, who is a food inspector. Food myths, food poisoning, and his beef with the Mythbusters, all coming up soon. After that, we have the return of a grain of salt with Eran Segev, looking at the benefits or not of wearing bicycle helmets. Then we have a good friend of mine, Michael Marshall from the Merseyside Skeptics and Skeptics with a K podcast, helping me out in reading a statement from the Power Balance people. This one's Power Balance UK, with my footnotes along the way. And to wrap up the show, it's the Think Tank. Yes, we're back at our favourite club down the end of the street for more news and information from the skeptical world. Now, in the past week, we've had two significant events happen, of course. Maynard had a birthday, and... yes, misinformation. Happy birthday, Maynard, and misinformation. And thank you. As I said in my Twitter, it's people like you who make our skeptical world go round. Now, those fans out there of the late Douglas Adams, and I would think most of the Skeptic Zone fan base would be fans of Douglas Adams, Maynard, some years back, way back in 1990, actually interviewed Douglas Adams, and this interview has only recently been brought back to life, and it's yours to enjoy. Head for www.maynard.com.au. Whoa, I love this music from George Hrubb. Anyway, sit back, have that nice cool glass of soda water with ice, and enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
You won't believe the results you receive, but don't think just 'cause it's done that it was not a miracle.
Okay, we've got on the phone someone who can scare you with a wink of his food-loving eye. We have Gary Kennedy, a ex-meat handler, now a man who just handles everything and inspects it for you to make sure it's safe. Hiya, Gary.
Hi, Maynard. How are you?
Oh, look, I'm pretty good there. I had to give you such a big intro because on the Skeptic Zone here, we do deal with the paranormal, and I believe you're psychic because only last week I interviewed you. And what did you predict last week, Gary?
I predicted that there would be a major food poisoning outbreak in January because it's the prime time to have them, and we hadn't had one yet.
So you are indeed psychic? Do you speak with the dead? Do they tell you where you're not supposed to eat?
Look, John Edwards is in my personal diary, yes.
This is basically based on experience because every January in living memory there has been some sort of food danger outbreak, but this one's been a bit bigger, hasn't it?
Yeah, this one was, from what I read, about 120 people, and 20 to 25 have been admitted to hospital with salmonella poisoning.
Now, salmonella will kill you?
It can kill you if you're old or sick or very young.
You must see a lot of stuff. But first, I really should tell people your history so you know what you're talking about.
I went uni. I was a Bachelor of Science in Food Technology. Worked for the public hospital system, making meals for other hospitals. Worked at the factory that makes hamburger patties for McDonald's. Then worked for a company that does meat and also does cooked meats, and then became a food safety auditor and food safety trainer, which I've done for the last 15 years.
And you've been to America and China to tell them how to do it.
Yes.
And do they listen, Gary?
Yeah, they do. And then the main reason they listen is partly because the Australians got this right. When Paul Keating said we sit on the arse end of the earth, that means we get things right down here occasionally. But it's also because the major supermarkets insist that they do it, and the Australians are closest, we're cheapest to get over there.
And how would our food safety standards sit compared to other countries in the world?
I'd say we're at the peak. We're pretty, and we've got some things right that no one else has. We're the first people, for example, to get it right in food service. You know, the first accredited KFC or McDonald's or Sizzler were all in Australia.
Less people die of food poisoning per capita in this country than anywhere else in the world?
There aren't statistics for a lot of places, but yeah, pretty much. We're one of the few who actually keeps those statistics. A lot of countries don't even keep them.
Being a sceptical show, you have had a problem with some major skeptics. But look, if there were gods in the skeptical movement, the Mythbusters would be them, and you have written a strongly worded letter to the program denouncing them. And if you saw them in the street, you would blow a raspberry at them. Gary, what is your problem with the Mythbusters?
It's a bit, not quite. Like every good skeptic, of course, I didn't agree with how they did one of their stories. One of the stories was on something you and I have discussed on air, double dipping.
Yeah, and double dipping, it's not just something that happens in a Seinfeld episode.
No, it happens quite regularly. And in their episode, they dipped a cracker in and they said, there's very little bugs that wouldn't make you sick. But they didn't use someone who was sick to see if there were more bugs from a sick person. They didn't test for things like hepatitis, and you don't need many bugs to make you sick from hepatitis, and that can be carried by someone's spit.
Now, what would be the most dangerous thing you could get from double dipping? Obviously, hepatitis A.
Yeah.
Could you get Ebola from double dipping?
If someone had Ebola, you're more likely to... Yeah, in fact, Ebola is carried by spit, I believe. So if someone had Ebola, yes, you could get Ebola from a double dipping. You'd have to be in rural Nigeria, I suppose, or somewhere to get it.
Could you get human mad cow disease from double dipping?
CJD. I don't know, Maynard. I'd have to follow that up for you. I'll take that on notice.
Okay, because that's a protein, isn't it? It doesn't get killed easily.
That's right. In fact, there's evidence to suggest that the canning process, it doesn't even get killed off during canning.
Now we've started to scare people enough. We'll get back to your prediction. You predicted we'd have a food scare. We did. Is it purely because in hot weather the cockies dance around and love it?
In this case, I don't think it's cockroaches. There's a few things that come. One is it's hot. It's the middle of summer. Number two is it tends to be people are on holidays, so that people don't eat what they normally eat. They're more inclined to go out and eat takeaway. It's also partly that because of the time of the year, just after the Christmas New Year break, it could be that food that normally would have sold in a day or two sat there for a few days longer and bred up. It could also be that where you normally have permanent staff during the year, over Christmas New Year you'd have casual staff and they may not follow the rules as well.
Now, did you get a letter back from the Mythbusters, by the way, when you wrote your strongly worded letter?
It was an email, and I got an acknowledgement of my email.
Oh, you got one of the ABC ones. Well, thank you for your opinion. You may well be right.
Apparently they take them seriously, but we'll see. I haven't seen hepatitis 2 come up yet.
There's a lot of preconceived notions about food, obviously, because it's so central to our nature.
Yes.
Let's go through a few of them now. Monosodium glutamate. Can you actually be allergic to that?
Look, theoretically, you can be allergic to anything. You can be allergic to air or allergic to water. But I think it's extremely unlikely that you can be allergic to monosodium glutamate because glutamic acid and sodium are essential parts of the diet. Glutamic acid is one of the essential amino acids. It's really unusual that if you believed in God, that he would have designed a body where something that's essential is also allergic.
Could it just be the way the powder is prepared or something? Maybe it's something else in that powder that's being added.
It's more likely that you're taking a massive dose of something you're not used to.
And you told me that you're more likely to get MSG in high levels in Italian food.
Yes. Yeah, because MSG occurs in quite high levels in Parmesan cheese and in tomatoes and in mushrooms, all of which are used a lot in Italian food. And in fact, levels of MSG in Chinese food are often far less than in Italian food. Yet no one ever gets MSG food poisoning from Italian food.
I'm a single guy. I live on my own. I get stuff out of the fridge. It falls on the floor. How many seconds on the floor? What is the second rule for picking stuff off the floor and eating it?
Look, this is one Mythbusters got right. There is no second rule. Look, what I've said to people, if it falls into sewerage, it's going to be covered in sewerage. It depends on how clean your floor is. As a general rule, if I drop it on the floor, I tend not to eat it again.
Oh no. Hey, you're wasting food, Gary.
I have a dog.
So if it's on the floor, think about the last time you cleaned the floor.
Basically, yes.
And can people really get a little bit too fussy? We see all these ads with the housewife, you are killing your children by not cleaning your counter enough.
Your dish mop will kill you, yes.
Are you wiping chicken over the toilet and then feeding it to your kids? I've seen that ad.
Yeah, I've never understood why if there's germs under the rim of your toilet, you're going to get sick. I mean, the whole idea is you poo in the toilet, so you'd think there's going to be germs in there anyway. Yeah, you can be over-clean. There's quite a few studies showing that people from very, very clean houses get more sick than people who have a bit of dust and dirt about.
Because they aren't exposed on a regular basis?
Yeah, they have no immunity build-up.
Now, what about the kitchen sponge is another one of your... I know you go on about this a lot at your talks you give, and you're happy to talk to the community about this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you've told me if it's like ham or a meat like that, sniff it. If it's bad, don't eat it. You'll be able to smell it. With the kitchen sponge, obviously, sometimes they can be a bit clean if you haven't been using it a lot, but they can be harbouring evil.
Yeah, look, a general rule, like the dish mop, the scourer, all of those can be dirty. In general, if your sink's hot enough, it should kill off most of the things we're worried about when you put the sponge in it. And a lot of the chemicals you use, to wash your dishes are fairly toxic chemicals in the sense of killing bugs on sponges.
So how often should you chuck out your sponge? Just on a whim every week?
Chuck it out when it falls apart, Maynard.
Don't do as I say.
No. What I do is, if the sponge is dirty or smelly, I'll wash it. I often throw my sponge into the washing machine with a load of washing.
Wow, you are frugal. Now,
Cheap's the word.
There are a lot of foods out there that are miracle foods. Now, I know that's not so much your area because you're mainly a health safety inspector, but you do know your food. What's the big woo food at the moment you reckon is being sold around Australia that is really not anything like it's knocked up to be?
Oh, look, there's a whole lot of berries and fruit and veg that's supposed to be wonder cures for everything. The goji berry, I think it's Choice, did tests on that and found you got far more vitamin C in a glass of orange juice than for the berry, which you pay about 20 times as much as orange juice.
What is your favourite food, by the way? You're the guy who's out there inspecting it. You see the food being made. What's your favourite food?
I'm partial to beef, Maynard. I used to work one of the reasons I worked in a meatworks for so many years.
So how do you know where to get your good beef from? Don't name any places, but how can you tell when you go into a butcher's shop and actually is the beef you get in your regular supermarket almost as good anyway?
I go to a butcher shop if I want to buy a particularly good cut, and I use the terminology that the butchers use. So I'll say I want a New York trim steer steak, and when you say stuff like that, they know you're in the industry, so they tend to give you the good stuff.
What if they give you a New Jersey trim steak? That's not normally edible.
No.
Dr Rachael and Richard Saunders are both huge fans of the salami, the hot salami known as a bum burner. That is their favourite food, and they often put chili on top of the hot bum-burning salami.
I know a lot about salami. I helped write the code of practice after the Garibaldi's outbreak.
2 questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Is a hot salami going to be less likely to have any problems in the pressed meat department because of its mere heat? Does that affect any bacterial problem? And if they're putting chili and doing all this bum-burning behaviour, and I believe there's some scientific word for that I can't put my finger on right now, but let's call it bum-burning behaviour.
Maynard, it has a higher Scoville factor.
Scoville?
Scoville is the measure of heat from chilies.
They're both big on the higher Scoville factor there. First of all, is the salami a relatively good thing and safe thing to eat?
There are 2 sorts of salamis in Australia. There are those that are fermented and are raw when you eat them, and there are some that are cooked. The ones that are cooked, the acid in the chili, and that's what basically burns you, is the fact that chilies are acidic. Having more chili in it is not going to really make it safer in the cooked product. In the raw product, there is a small factor played by the chili. So there is they are slightly safer. However, the laws in Australia is every single batch of salami must be tested before it's allowed to be released to the public.
Is that just some guy called Dave near the door who has a bit and goes, oh, it's great?
No. It has to be sent to an accredited laboratory, and you can't send it out to the results back from the lab, which normally takes 2 to 3 days.
I reckon a lot of people making salami, that'd be really annoying.
There are a lot less people making salami than there used to be. The Food Authority found out who was doing salami by contacting the casing manufacturers and going backwards. So they went to the people the raw materials, and then went to the butcher shops.
Now, I seem to remember a case in the US where they introduced salami laws and some food inspectors were shot dead.
Yeah, there was one in California where they introduced laws. The place was shut down. He started trading illegally. 4 inspectors went, 3 were shot dead, and the 4th got away wounded in the car.
I often listen to John C. Dvorak on a number of podcasts, and he is a big fan of deregulating the salami industry because he's a fan of raw milk. He's a fan of, he thinks that, the salamis taste better when they don't have as stringent rules to them. What would you say to someone like that?
I'd say he needs to shop around. There are a lot of small butcher shops who still make salamis made the way they used to make them overseas. I've got a couple of clients who do that.
So if you want to eat some salami in the morning, what salami would you recommend if you're into the raw taste?
A capicola is good.
You've obviously travelled a bit too. What country in the world have you seen some wild food behaviour that you just make your jaw drop?
I've been through parts of rural China where I was served things and couldn't tell whether it was vegetable or animal.
Or inanimate object.
I couldn't tell what species, or even if it was vegetable or animal I was served.
Now, do we get the addictive quality of the chili there?
It is possible, like all foods, to become addicted. There's 2 theories on how you become addicted. One of them is simply there's some chemical in the food that turns you on and you become addicted to that. Like chocolate or alcohol, both can become addicted to. The second theory that I've seen is that when you get a super hot rush of chili, you get a release of endorphins to relieve the pain, and people can become addicted to the rush of endorphins.
You really enjoy your job. I mean, you get up in the morning and you've got to go to a restaurant or something like that, and you could see horrible, stinky, smelly stuff. A lot of people, that would be not a good thing.
Oh, look, you get used to it.
For goodness sake, you spent a lot of your working life in an abattoir.
That's right.
We've all seen the Simpsons episode where the kids go through at the beginning and they come out the end and they're all white.
It's like that. First time I went through, I passed out.
What attracted you to wanting to be involved in food safety?
Going back to what do I want to do in my life, when I was thinking what do I want to do at uni, I thought, well, people always get sick and people always eat. So I thought, it's pharmacy or it's food tech. A friend did food tech, so I went through with him, finished uni, and look, it's just something that interests me. I suppose it's also because I really haven't worked in many factories. I've always worked with the catering industry, worked with chefs and people like that, and that's, if you like, a more exciting part of the industry.
And I guess the final message for you is beware the dirty tea towel.
Yes, food inspectors hate tea towels because our favourite person... Can we name names on this program?
Oh, look, name names. Show bums. Get your boobs out, Gary.
Mr. Ian Hewitson, who has that bloody tea towel stuck on his side, wipes his blood-soaked hands on it, then he wipes his hands after he's cut something. That tea towel sits there for hours on his side.
Particularly if he's outside doing a shoot or something, too, in the sun.
I don't like much of that.
I think, like, some of the skeptics would like to invite you along to Skeptics in the Pub one time in Sydney to have a chat to everybody and take some questions.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I should be a card-carrying member of the Skeptics because I've been one for a long time, as you know, Maynard.
Look, you're sceptical of all sorts of things. Gary, I have to say, I filter my water because I'm concerned about fluoride being a mind-control drug. Is there any evidence either way on that at the moment?
As far as I know, no. Fluoride is not a mind-control drug.
So it's just me?
Yes.
So this stuff's happening. I'm the one that's doing it?
Yes.
Gary Kennedy, thank you very much. If people want to, have you got a website where people can go, hang on a minute, I like that Mythbusters episode, where can they find you?
They can get me via my company, Correct Food Systems. They can Google me because I did something on Today Tonight, and apparently my name's coming up on their website too.
And if you Google Gary, you'll also see him at Fair Day. In 2007, the video I shot of him wearing the Canadian Mounties outfit outside of the Northern Hemisphere, I don't think you'd find a finer Canadian Mounties outfit anywhere.
Thank you, Maynard.
Hey Skeptic Zoners, Phil Plate from Bad Astronomy here. I've recently made a career change to supervillain, and so I have an ultimatum for you. Send me all of your Minties and Tim Tams, or else I will drop a kilometer-wide asteroid right into Sydney Harbour. Now, trust me, you don't want to have this happen, and if you don't believe me, tune into the Discovery Channel Australia on January 16th and watch Bad Universe, where I will go into loving detail about what happens when an asteroid that size smacks into the Opera House.
Grain of salt, grain of salt, grain of salt.
Let's all take this with a grain of salt. Here's Eran Segev.
Grain of salt now, a grain of salt, you gotta take it with a...
Hello, this is Eran Segev taking life with a grain of salt. Before I get on with today's topic, I would like to apologize for not doing a segment for so long, and thank those who emailed me saying nice things and urging me to be more diligent. For the sake of the two of you, I'll try harder in 2011. Today's topic is bicycle helmets and the laws making their use mandatory. Australia has had compulsory bike helmet laws since the early 90s, and it is almost alone in the world in that respect. While many European countries in which bike use is much more common than in Australia, such as the Netherlands or Denmark, do not have such laws, their introduction is often debated in those countries, so the debate is of interest beyond the boundaries of Australia. There are several arguments for and against the use of helmets and the laws making it mandatory. The single most significant argument for wearing helmets is that helmets can prevent or reduce serious head injuries. This extends to compulsory use with the claim that the cost of such injuries to society justifies government involvement. The arguments against are more numerous. The first one is that there is no evidence that helmets reduce serious head injury. The second is that it should not be up to the state to decide what people do to protect their heads. The third is that for certain types of impact, helmets make the injury worse. The fourth is that safety for cyclists can be achieved by a combination of improved infrastructure and education. And the fifth is that compulsory helmet use turns people off riding bicycles and kills the cycling culture. In this discussion, I will focus on transport cyclists, not leisure cyclists. By transport cyclists, I'm referring to people who use bicycles as a means of transport and share the road with vehicles. I will extend the discussion to the use of bike lanes, as they are an important part of the argument against helmets. The idea that helmets are an important factor in protecting cyclists seems intuitive. A fall from a bike at relatively high speeds can result in heavy impact. Providing some padding to any part of the body seems like a good idea, and while the head is certainly not the only organ that can be affected by such impact, the reversibility of a lot of head injuries, even if not lethal, makes protection of the head a top priority. However, what seems intuitive may not necessarily be true. There are other factors to consider. For example, it may very well be the case that accidents that cause serious head injury will often include impact with a motor vehicle or be otherwise so severe as to kill the cyclist regardless of the head injury. It may also be the case that the circumstances of many such accidents are beyond the protective effects of the helmet, such as causing internal abdominal injuries. If either of these two scenarios is true, helmets are unlikely to have a significant beneficial effect on the population of cyclists. The number of articles published over the years about helmet use is very high, and it is beyond the scope of this segment to go over the entire body of research. However, I did want to have some kind of answer to the question, so I sampled 10 articles at random from the body that I found. Of those 10, 9 showed a significant protective effect, and 1 showed a moderate protective effect to wearing a helmet while cycling. I also found a Cochrane review for which these are the main results. We found no randomized controlled trials, but 5 well-conducted case control studies met our inclusion criteria. Helmets provide a 63 to 88% reduction in the risk of head, brain, and severe brain injury for all ages of bicyclists. Helmets provide equal level of protection for crashes involving motor vehicles, 69%, and crashes from all other causes, 68%. Injuries to the upper and mid-facial areas are reduced 65%. Under the assumption that evidence of benefit is significant, let's look at the question of compulsory use. I want to dismiss up front the claim that the state has no business meddling with people's choices on safety. This argument simply doesn't hold water. There are laws governing such things as electrical fittings in people's homes, which none but the most extreme libertarians would object to, as well as seatbelt laws that few still debate. The case is also made that if there is a cost to society, then society has a right to intervene to reduce or prevent the cost, and government represents society, even if it does not always do so well. As far as I'm concerned, the question that needs to be answered is whether there are costs to cycling-related head injuries that are reduced by the use of helmets. Unfortunately, the only study I found that looked at this question is a New Zealand study from 2002 that has certain apparent weaknesses that make it less than conclusive for our purposes. That study, by the way, showed a small benefit. Even if I've missed some studies, I'm confident that the body of evidence is not huge, so the question remains open as a philosophical question, of whether the cost to society must be financial first, and if it is, what amount of evidence must be used before imposing on the freedom of citizens. The next point I want to touch on is regarding other measures for improving the safety of cyclists. The most cited measures are the ones used in many European countries. They include a combination of infrastructure, such as bicycle lanes and bicycle traffic lights, that take into account the slow start of bikes, and education, which comprises changing the behavior of motorists and cyclists and creates a culture that accepts the presence of cyclists on the road and recognizes their relative vulnerability. There is no doubt that the combination of those measures improves cyclist safety. It is a fact that in countries with a thriving cycling culture, where bike lanes are ubiquitous, the rate of injury of cyclists is lower than in countries that do not have those. There is also little doubt that separating cyclists from motorists benefits both and improves the safety of cyclists. What I've been unable to determine is whether the already low injury rate would be even lower with helmets. It's an important question in my opinion, as it tells us a lot about whether education and infrastructure can replace helmet use. Having said that, it is also possible that helmets would provide additional protection, yet it would be too small to be worth legislating for. It may also have an effect on the number of cyclists, which brings us to the next point, whether compulsory helmet use turns people off riding bicycles and kills the cycling culture. This is something that comes up often when talking to those who object to helmet use or object to compulsory helmet use, and I think it is really two questions in one, whether there is an effect on the number of cyclists and whether society should care if there is. There is some evidence that when compulsory helmet laws were passed in Australia, there was a decline in cycling. However, cycling is enjoying a huge resurgence in the past 10 years, and there is no evidence that the numbers would be any higher without the helmet laws. I also think that if someone chooses not to cycle because of the helmet, then surely cycling is not important enough to them. So basing a decision on their preference is unwise. On the other hand, there is a claim that the helmet laws create an image of cycling as dangerous and turns people off. Once again, the huge rise in cyclists in recent years suggests that that's not true. I looked for studies showing that people who do not cycle would do so if they didn't have to wear a helmet and didn't find anything. This leaves us with a question of whether a cycling culture benefits society. The two major benefits are public health and environmental harm minimization. I have found several studies showing that cyclists are on average healthier than non-cyclists. What the studies fail to show is how the same people who cycle would fare without a bicycle. In my opinion, it is likely that many of them would pick up other forms of exercise, but I could find no evidence for this. For the environmental claim to be true, the number of cyclists would need to be very high. When a substantial proportion of the population does not use cars, the environmental impact is likely to be significant, of course, but it's worth remembering that there are also environmental costs. When retrofitting existing roads with bike lanes, the works carried out have an environmental impact. It also takes away some of the space previously allocated to cars, which increases traffic congestion and thereby also energy use. One final point with regard to the benefit to society is that even in the Netherlands and Denmark, the most cycling-friendly countries in the world, cyclists are a minority when compared to motorists, and it is worth asking what the effect of increasing the use of bicycles would be for those who do not cycle. The last claim I want to discuss is more of a fringe claim, but I find it interesting because it is quite typical of some of the claims skeptics encounter in other areas. The claim is that for certain types of impact, helmets make the injury worse. The basic idea, loosely stated, is that helmets cause angular acceleration to the brain to be made worse, and that that's the main source of brain injury. The theory is promoted by Bill Kernow, a retired public servant from Canberra. Kernow has written 2 impressive-looking papers in 2003 and 2005, and those papers are quoted by many of those who oppose mandatory helmet use. Kernow claims his papers show that helmets have never saved a single life. That claim alone should probably be enough to dismiss Kernow as a crank, but Kernow goes further and claims that his theory is ignored because the helmet industry is worth a lot of money. Yes, he is making the big helmet claim. He cannot explain the fact that studies and trauma doctors disagree with him. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Bill Kernow is, or was perhaps, the president of the Cyclists' Rights Action Group, or CRAG. So I think the claim for the benefit of helmet use is strong. The case for mandatory helmet use is a bit more questionable. But the laws in Australia being what they are, it's the case for change that needs to be made. Those who object to the current laws could make the case for themselves if they stuck to the evidence and avoided emotional arguments and the use of poor science.
Grain of salt now. Grain of salt, you gotta take it with a...
This is Yaron
and Liora
from Safek Savir, the skeptical podcast for Hebrew speakers. Come listen to all things unholy in the holy language at www.safek.co.il.
נשמח למאזינים נוספים מאוסטרליה.
Power Balance, the rubber bands with the stick-on holograms, are in all sorts of trouble around the world. Here in Australia, they've been forced to retract their amazing claims. In the United States, they're facing legal action. Now, to counter this, the Power Balance company have released some statements. And here is Michael Marshall from the Merseyside Skeptics and Skeptics with a K podcast to help me as he reads out the statement from Power Balance UK with little footnotes by yours truly.
Further to the recent UK media coverage regarding the ACCC ruling about previous advertising of Power Balance in Australia, Power Balance UK would like to respond by correcting inaccuracies in these stories. Power Balance did not make any claims that its product does not perform and has always been totally transparent as to the benefits of the product.
I quote the website of Power Balance Australia, www.powerbalance.com/Australia/CA. In our advertising, we stated that Power Balance wristbands improve your strength, balance and flexibility. We admit there is no credible evidence that supports our claims, and therefore we engaged in misleading conduct in breach of Section 52 of the Trade Practices Act 1974.
Moreover, Power Balance does not and has never made any scientific or medical claims about its products.
Here is Power Balance representative Tom O'Dowd speaking on national television here in Australia in 2009.
It's basically a product that works with your body's electrical field that gives you a feeling of wellness, and we can demonstrate straight away that it improves your balance, your strength and your flexibility.
The story concerns a directive from the ACCC to Power Balance Australia to modify previous advertising messaging in Australia. Indeed, the Australian representative for Power Balance provided numerous testimonies to the ACCC to support the product's performance, which was acknowledged. Power Balance Australia then agreed to remove certain phrases from its advertising and offer an extended warranty period. To be clear, this is not a comment or decision about the product's performance and benefits.
Here is what Mr. Graham Samuel, the chairman of the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, said about the performance of Power Balance on national television in Australia in December 2010.
Look, they are no more effective than, sort of a rubber band, which I can purchase from my local newsagent for almost nothing. And if people really believe in these things, then what I'd say to them to do is to buy one of these rubber bands, put it on their wrist, close their eyes and say to themselves, this will work, this will work, this will work. If they say it 3 times, they might even believe themselves if they're gullible enough. But that's about as effective as these Power Balance bracelets are.
And the advertising directive does not apply in the UK or Ireland. In fact, the advertising messaging in Australia was corrected some months ago to address the concerns raised by the ACCC, but as an internationally popular product, the media continue to print inconsistent messaging and follow up on every news story surrounding the product. Power Balance Australia continues to sell Power Balance products. From its inception, Power Balance has lived and thrived in the ultimate testing environment, the real world.
The ultimate testing environment, the real world? What an utterly meaningless statement. We have a good way to test things in the real world. It's called the scientific method. And Power Balance utterly fail that test.
Globally, Power Balance is committed to bringing performance innovation to every athlete in the world, from professional to recreational. We've heard from fitness professionals, athletes, coaches, personal trainers, and everyday users who tell us they've experienced benefits from Power Balance for themselves.
Of course, it goes without saying that personal stories of success or otherwise are not considered evidence in science.
Power Balance does not make any scientific or medical claims about its products.
It's basically a product that works with your body's electrical field that gives you a feeling of wellness, and we can demonstrate straight away that it improves your balance, your strength and your flexibility.
Since its launch in 2007, Power Balance has grown rapidly, fueling primarily by word-of-mouth testimonials from elite athletes and everyday users, and is now sold in more than 30 countries around the world. Power Balance offers a very fair, no-quibble 30-day money-back guarantee, so each purchaser can see if the product works for them. This allows you to return the product to your original place of purchase for a full refund. If you have a product for some time and did not exercise this 30-day money-back guarantee option, then we hope that you continue to enjoy the benefits that Power Balance is offering you. It is not possible to return the product after the 30-day period has ended. For press inquiries, please contact Laura Blacklaws at Entice Communications. We are committed to our product and the benefits it provides.
In our advertising, we stated that Power Balance wristbands improve your strength, balance and flexibility. We admit there is no credible evidence that supports our claims, and therefore we engaged in misleading conduct.
We trust this clarifies the situation. Power Balance UK.
And that statement from Power Balance UK, as we say in Australia, has more spin than Shane Warne.
Yeah, right, guys. I was talking to Richard Saunders the other day.
All right.
He said if we record a trailer for our podcast, Skeptics with a K, he'd play it on their show.
Well, that's nice of him. That's very generous.
It's pretty good. I'm not sure what we could do, though. I mean...
Well, I suppose you tell people what the show's about.
But it's basically just this.
Yeah. But we talk about science and skepticism and things.
That's true. I suppose you mentioned the website address.
What, Merseyside
Yeah, or just like search us on iTunes. Oh, and then we could end with like a big song like The Skeptics with a K podcast.
No. Don't do that.
Join us now for Drinking Skeptically in the Think Tank.
Well, it's good to see everybody back again, actually, so cheers before we... Yay! Yay. Thank you. We're back in our favourite club, just down the end of the street, the Canterbury Hurlstone Park RSL. We've all had a wonderful dinner. We're waiting for the bus announcement. Until it gets here, we might as well have a think tank with Dr. Rachael. Hi, Dr. Rachael.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, good to see you back here in the think tank.
It's kind of weird to be back in our favourite club down the street, isn't it? It's been a long time.
It has been, but I'm glad we're here. Joanne Benhamu. Hello, Nurse Joe.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm well. You've been nursing lately, have you?
I have. Yep. Back at work. Doesn't seem like there were ever any holidays, so yeah. Or TAM. Yeah.
Or TAM.
I was actually, on my way in here, I was thinking it's nearly 2 months since TAM, and
what?
It's just gone.
Has it?
It has.
Good heavens. It's a grain of salt, Eran Segev. Hi, Eran.
Hi, Richard.
Hi. And thank you. It's good to have a grain of salt back on the show again.
It's good to be back on the air. And it's 6 weeks since TAM.
6 weeks. Yes. All right. I think I can handle that a little better.
A little better than closer to 2 months.
We have drunken madmen with us today. Jason, hi.
Hello, Richard. I'll tell you how long it's been since TAM. It's been this long. My beard has not been cut since TAM.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just starting to get in the appearance.
So it's a couple of centimetres since TAM.
That's how we can tell these days.
Are you trying to join the beady skeptic brigade, Jason?
Not bothered cutting it off.
And James. Hi, James.
G'day, everyone.
G'day.
James, who's James?
This guy
Don't
sitting...
you mean Sheepy?
Sheepy. Bastard sheep. On Twitter, of course, Bastard Sheep.
Man with no pants, yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to this no pants
Nice
business.
of you to wear pants tonight.
Yes, thank you for wearing pants tonight. We'll get to that very soon. Let me kick off straight away. It's been a fantastic time for me lately because I've been really enjoying listening to other people take over the Skeptic Zone, which has been fantastic. But I really have to have a big thank you and a big shout out to our good friend Maynard, who not only took over the show for 1 week, but in the last 3 or 4 weeks he's been giving us the cream of the interviews that he did at TAM Australia. I particularly remember the one he did with James Randi just last week, but many others. So a big thank you to Maynard, I think. Cheers, Maynard. Wish you were here. Yay!
Cheers. Where is Maynard, by the way?
He's on a secret assignment.
Secret assignment?
Yes. When someone's not here, we just say they're on secret assignment.
secret we don't even know what it is.
We'll make something up later.
We'll make something up. No, thank you, Maynard. We really mean that.
9/11?
Sorry?
Something to do with 9/11?
Oh, it's a secret. Let's start straight away by something which isn't a secret, that should be a secret, because nobody should ever have to hear about these wretched people. People from the Catch the Fire Ministries, Joe. I wish they would catch on fire, yes. These are people who blame all sorts of naughty people like our ex-Prime Minister Kevin Rudd on for natural disasters. Retribution from God, Joe.
Yes, Richard. Look, as I'm sure everyone's aware, most of Queensland and some of New South Wales is in the grip of the worst floods we've ever seen. It's just the most horrific natural disaster. And, we never fail to see opportunists and horrible people like Pastor Danny Nalea of Catch a Fire Ministries crawling out of the woodwork at times like this. And
crawling out from under his rock.
Yes, that too. So the last time we heard from Danny Nalea was when he was blaming the Victoria bushfires on the abortion laws in Victoria. But his latest thing that he's come out with is to blame the floods in Queensland on Kevin Rudd's criticisms of Israel. Now, whatever your views may be on the politics of the Middle East or any other part of the world, blaming our Prime Minister and our former... Whoops! Blaming our former Prime Minister for our current natural disaster because of something that he said is, aside from being completely ludicrous, it's also incredibly vile. And seeks to really take advantage of the situation for his own rather odd ends.
And who would have thought Danny Nalea would do that?
No. In fact,
it's not like he does it every single time there's any issues, any natural disasters.
Anytime, absolutely. So basically, they came out. This is from this is actually from the Catch a Fire Ministry website. They had a prayer rally on the Victorian Parliament steps yesterday, and they say. They want to praise and thank our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ for stopping the rain just in time in downtown Melbourne so that we could have the prayer meeting on the steps of Parliament.
Egotistical, self-centered.
So I'm curious. God saw fit to stop the rain so they could have their prayer meeting, but he didn't see fit to stop the frickin' floods.
No,
that's right. You can swear. I'll bleep it.
He was on leave during that period, apparently.
God.
Yeah.
God. Oh, right.
Yeah, he's back now, so...
Yeah, of course.
Hey,
I forgot.
I always wonder about these groups, these people. I always wonder what they think of their God. Really, I mean, surely they can't have a very good view of this deity of theirs. It's just quite astonishing that they would think that.
Which is strange because he has got a very poor view of them.
Doesn't Danny take credit for the floods not actually getting to the same height as the 1974 floods?
Sorry, say that
Doesn't
again.
Danny take credit for his prayers? Doesn't he say that they're the reason why the flood peak didn't quite get as high as they did in 1974?
I wouldn't be surprised if he said that. Actually, I haven't actually seen him say that, but that wouldn't surprise me in the least.
I'm pretty sure that was on this website today sometime.
Yeah, it could be. I haven't seen it.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. But if listeners want to
leave a comment.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's him now.
It's God.
It's God.
Dad, I'll talk to you later. I'm recording with him.
Oh, that's so staying in. Now,
That was brilliant.
if listeners want to check out the website of this lunatic, http://catchthefire.com.au, and you can read all about
And
it.
you can leave a comment as well, which a lot of people have been doing.
Which won't get published,
Well,
though,
some of them got through. I think Peter Ratbag's one got through, didn't
Really?
it? Yeah, I think so. Ratbag's got a comment on the internet.
That's because it was a very sarcastic comment, and they didn't actually notice the sarcasm in it.
Yeah, was this on their website?
Yeah.
Because I had a look at some of the comments today, and I was noting that they were all people who were supporting Catch Fire Ministry.
Yeah, I saw that too. I think most of the comments, if not all the ones I saw, were just lackeys and stupid people saying, "You're right, Pastor Danny."
Yep.
Speaking of numpties and the floods, I guess everyone else noticed that the leader of the opposition, the wonderful Tony Abbott, also took an opportunity to take advantage of this dreadful situation by saying that we should now rethink plans to roll out the national broadband network based on the flooding in Queensland.
I don't see quite how it follows. Because the cables will get wet. The tubes, sorry, the tubes.
The tubes will fill with
the
water.
internet is made of
Series
tubes,
of
you know.
tubes.
It's a series of
The
tubes.
internet is made.
So-
No, Jason, the internet's.
Cats would drown.
Cats drown.
Yeah, cats do drown.
And the textures will just get wet.
That'd be terrible.
Yes,
But
yes.
I've just got to say, just before we get on to the next topic, I was very proud of K-Rudd. I mean, I guess we've all seen the video of K-Rudd stomping through his electorate with his pants pulled up and...
As long as he was doing that not for the cameras, as long as he was really doing it.
I think he probably was. He was doing it, and the camera stumbled upon him doing it and started talking to him.
I think
I was very impressed with that. I was very impressed with that.
I did wonder at first, was this something that was just being done for the cameras, but after watching for quite a while, it didn't seem to be at all.
Well, you know why he was doing it.
They actually saw him from afar and walked to him and started talking to him. So he was doing it when there was no cameras around.
But he had to do something to make up for the fact that he started the fly.
Don't joke about that.
Good on him. Good on you, ex-Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. He was out there just in the streets helping people.
With suitcases on his head.
Yeah.
And his pants rolled up to his knees.
In fact, if I remember correctly, that he was actually they were emptying out the accommodation for overseas students, and they were rescuing all the cases of students who actually aren't there at the moment, probably because it's the uni break. So.
I think the Mayor of Ipswich said that because the Governor General, Quentin Bryce, do you guys know her? Yeah. For our international listeners, she's probably about in her 70s and beautifully manicured.
Mid-60s.
Mid-60s, maybe?
Sure.
Okay. But she's beautifully manicured. Lovely, lovely lady. Always dressed absolutely spotlessly. Looks fantastic. The Mayor of Ipswich said she's not to come up there until he's got something for her to do. And I'm not quite sure. Well, until he's got a job for her to do, like, shoveling sand or sweeping mud or something. And so, I don't know. I mean, she's a lovely woman. I'm not sure I can imagine her with her skirt tucked into her undies.
Apparently, our favourite laser eyes Julie Bishop is even up there.
What?
Getting in
Really?
there and helping
Drying
out.
up the water with the lasers.
Yes, but all kidding aside, terrible situation in Queensland with these floods, and northern New South Wales, the state we're in at the moment.
At least there are no deaths in New South Wales yet, so I hope that it doesn't come to that.
Floods in Victoria and Tasmania as well.
I heard about that, so it's not a good situation at all, but I'm sure our listeners
And
around
fires
the
over
world...
in Perth.
And what?
Fires in Perth as well.
It's all happening.
The apocalypse.
It's the apocalypse.
And birds falling out of the sky in America.
Birds falling out of the sky in
Frogs riding
America.
on the back of snakes.
That was awesome. Did you see that picture?
What?
And the frog, right? It was this image that someone took of a brown snake going through the water with a green frog riding on its back as it went through the water.
In the floods?
Yeah.
Good heavens.
Has it been image macro? They're like, yeehaw! That would be great.
They were just looking for a ladder to get out. Snakes and ladder. All right, moving right along. Let's raise another glass and a big hearty cheer to someone we've all known about for many years as just sort of one of the media personalities and news personalities, a certain Tracy Spicer.
Yeah.
Cheers, Tracy Spicer. Now, just to refresh your memories, listeners, let's play that wonderful clip again.
To the one person who blogged that I am somehow being paid by a pharmaceutical company to run this line, I say to you...
Oh, it's worth it's worth every golden, isn't it? That clip. But you've got some interesting news, Dr. Rachael, about that. Now, as you listeners will know from listening to Dr. Rachael last week, Tracy Spicer really took Meryl Dorey to task on air, big time. And
I think tore her to shreds is more descriptive of what happened there than took her to task.
I think you're
She
right.
didn't give her a chance to task. She just took her to pieces.
Now, there's something very interesting about the fact that Tracy Spicer made that comment about people who think she works at Big Pharma, right?
Yeah, a friend of mine managed to trace back what she was talking about when she said, whoever blogged that I work for Big Pharma. It turns out she was actually referring to Meryl Dorey's blog. So, in fact, that raspberry was probably inadvertently directed straight at Meryl Dorey. Yeah.
So Meryl Dorey wrote that along the lines of who does Tracy Spicer work for, Big Pharma or something?
Yeah.
As normal, attacking the person rather than the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I can't exactly remember what was said, but it's on her blog where she says she must be being paid by somebody. Who is paying her, the influence being it's Big Pharma.
Well, Meryl Dorey accused Channel 7 and our good friend Rebecca Letourneau
of being paid by Big Pharma,
Being paid
It's
by
getting
Big
very, very boring. I mean, surely they can think of something else.
It was quite interesting actually watching reading the comments on the TUE website after it was put online, because there was a huge amount of comments from people who have obviously been around, other skeptics, people from Stop the AVN, people who are completely in the know about all of this, who are just jumping on there and just, congratulating Tracy and saying how wonderful it was to actually see the media treating her with Meryl with the contempt that she deserves. And there was a notable absence of the anti-vax crowd in those comments. The few comments that were negative were clearly people who weren't really aware of how this has been handled, and in fact, to people who aren't aware of the history and of of how impossible it is to deal with these people, it may have even come across as a little bit odd to hear a journalist actually hang up on someone like that.
Yeah.
So there was a small amount of criticism of that, but I think it's without real understanding of the background and of what brought it to this point. So.
And of course, that's gone viral. That whole interview with Meryl Dorey, and I hope the blowing the raspberry's gone viral too. And it's brought a lot more.
That is a bit odd to hear a journalist blow a raspberry.
And Tracy Spicer is a gorgeous-looking woman. If people Google Tracy Spicer, you'll see what she looks like. She's stunning. And to imagine her sitting behind the microphone.
I just want to tell you about this whole thing about Tracy now being paid by Big Pharma. It's something that actually really worries me, because you see, until now it was a select few skeptics who were being paid by Big Pharma, and now the skeptical movement is growing, and now so they have to pay more people, and now they're starting to pay people who are outside the skeptical movement. That our payments
more money.
Our payments will be diluted. I'm just a little bit worried.
We're all taking a pay cut because of this,
Yeah. Smaller clown pants.
Smaller clown pants.
Smaller clown pants for me.
Sheepy's just not wearing any pants, so he doesn't need any money.
Now, speaking of that, let's get to the.
Speaking of that,
speaking of that, we'll get to the clown pants in a moment. But I've got a message here from Maynard, who's not with us tonight, and he asked me to read this out. This is an email he sent to me called "Things That May Well Suck," and I guess we make of this what we will. Okay, the internal combustion engine, right? The wood block, okay. Light cheese slices, right? The solo work of Paul McCartney. Yes and no. It's a Petticoat Junction.
Okay, is that some Australian thing? I don't know.
So that's Thank you, Maynard, and I'm sure listeners are now navel gazing, wondering why.
I have to say, I agree with the light cheese slices, unless they're Vegemite singles, which Kraft, I'm sorry, I forever hate you for getting rid of Vegemite singles.
I've forgotten about Vegemite singles, but they're yummy.
They were awesome.
Well, you can get cheesy bite.
Not the same.
No.
No.
I Smack 2.0.
Yeah.
By the way, my favorite tagline of all times is somebody wrote. Somebody had a tagline for their email that said, "If Windows sucked, it would be good for something."
You're a Windows person.
I hate Windows.
Oh, do you? I didn't realise.
I use Windows. I don't hate it. I use it. So. Now, let's get back to the pants issue. First of all, I'm going to play this little clip supplied to us by James. Here we go.
I'm here for the Sydney No Pants subway ride, and here with Damien. How you going, mate?
I'm going well, thanks today.
And how did this all start?
It's a creation of a group called Improv Everywhere in New York. They started this tradition 10 years ago in 2002. I found out about it late in 2008, and upon realising no one in Sydney had gone to the lengths of organising one, I thought, well, no one else is going to do it if I don't do it, so here we are.
So is there any real purpose behind this, or is it just for a bit of fun?
Nah, just random fun. There's no charity event. We're not selling anything. We're not looking to promote any causes other than just because. We're believers in random fun, and we pride ourselves on being one of the more pure events left in the world to experience rather than succumb to corporate interest or anything like that.
So no deep philosophical thoughts behind No Pants or anything like that?
No, I'd like to say there is, but it's just simple random fun.
Now, you were saying earlier that a couple of people had tried to approach you to get a bit of sponsorship and stuff like that going on.
That's correct. My philosophy with our particular group here in Sydney is we've been entrusted to look after the event by the guys in New York from Improv Everywhere, so it's integral that we don't do anything which looks bad to them. Having said that, there's also the problem, if you support one cause, you kind of feel obliged to support all the causes, so rather than get ourselves tangled up in disappointing people, we figured we'd just keep it corporate free and charity free and leave it to random fun for people to take out of their personal time and take it from there.
Numbers are looking fairly good at the moment. What do you think?
Happy with the response, actually. It's a similar size to the ride that we had last year, but bear in mind we've also got tomorrow morning's ride as well, so quite confident we'll have an increase on numbers.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
No problems at all.
Now, James, what's this No Pants business all about?
It's just basically something started by Improv Everywhere over in the United States. They're a group who just go out into public places and do strange, unusual things just for a laugh, just to get people's attention.
Like the Zombie Day, right?
Yeah, zombie marches have done...
like a little flash mob thing.
Yeah, flash mobs have gone to train stations and just stood still for a minute.
Yes.
And just other strange things like that.
Just to freak people out. Well, just have a bit of fun, isn't it?
And one of them was to ride a train with no pants on.
Obviously, why not? You know?
So that's starting to take off. This year was the third year, I think, in Sydney, second year in Melbourne and Brisbane.
Take off!
And it's the first year in Adelaide that it was done. So next year in January, it's going to be happening around Australia as well.
God, there's going to be thousands of people with no pants next year.
Did you neglect to mention that is it clear that he was involved in this, Sheepy?
Yeah, you were involved, Sheepy, absolutely.
Of course I was involved. How could I not be in something like that? Come on.
How can people...
Vote for you in the Shorty Awards.
Yes. How can people, once they've removed their pants, how can they take part? How can they find out more?
Well, if you just do a search on Facebook, that's where most of it is organised.
What a shame Maynard's not here for this. He'd love it.
So, usually happens just in the second week of January every year, so there's not real much point looking it up at the moment.
All right, I think the Skeptic Zone will have to make a big effort to all be there with no pants next year. Why not?
With no pants.
Up there, mate. I won't be on that train. I like my pants.
Yeah, but...
And watch out for me throughout the rest of the year, just repeating it for the fun of it.
So, just to remind our listeners, Sheepy has been nominated on the Shorties for the No Pants. So, I suggest I think everyone should vote for him in No Pants. Because you did quite well last year, didn't you, in the No Pants category? Did you?
No, I actually came second in that.
You came second? Well, this year, let's
we'll
make
fix
it...
that this year.
Yeah, you come first.
Oh, dear. Now, people who should be coming second in everything by now, we can only hope, are our good old friends at the Power Balance outfit, who are in all sorts of strife at the moment, with legal action being taken against them in the United States. Their credibility is being flushed down the toilet everywhere. But will this stop them? Well, not yet it hasn't, because we've just received news that one of the arenas, and my laptop's just about to fail.
It's the Arco Arena in Sacramento. Has been renamed Power Balance Pavilion, or as we prefer it, Placebo Pavilion.
That's a message, folks. Is it football, I imagine? Or is it baseball?
Football? Basketball, I think.
Basketball.
One of those American sports that I don't understand.
It's a stadium. Yeah. From now on, will be known as the Placebo Pavilion. Okay.
Well, you've just been retweeted too by Bulldust Balance, and they suggested that it'd be called Deception Dome.
Oh, that's nice. Deception Dome.
I wonder if we're going to put this big plastic thing around the edge of it. Holograms not
because I think all the vibrations, the frequency will probably interact in a way it could just destabilize
earthquakes. And cause earthquakes. Now tonight, let's have a look. I've brought with me my collection thus far of these wonderful holographic bands. Could you take those out, Sheepy? And I'll just... First of all, first cab off the rank is... I have 2 power balance bands here. One genuine and one fake. I defy... Really? Yeah. One I got from the Today Tonight people when I did the story. They bought it from a distributor for $60. The other one I bought for $5 on eBay.
This is the fake.
Yeah, because that one's got the price tag on it. Yeah.
But actually, I saw it for a different reason, because this one has a seal.
Yes.
And that one has a sea lion.
See how I did that? You're right, the price tag's on the back. Duh. No, leave it on. It's evidence. But apart from that, you can't tell. All right, also on the table here, I have...
the desperation? You rip off a rip-off?
Yeah. I have
they're making $35 million a year. Of course you're going to rip it off.
I have the famous Hot Band. Hot Band that used to be sold in Chemist Warehouse. Not anymore. But that's got to be the worst of the lot. Look at that. That looks
crummy.
It's really crappy, terrible
There's
design.
not a single thing about it that looks even the slightest bit professional.
No. Now, I've got from our good friend Travis Roy. Hi, Travis. Gave me an eye renew band. There's no holograms.
That would have a chip in it, probably,
I
would say. No, at least that would be the claim.
Right, screwdriver. I'm taking that apart.
Eye renew. And our listener, Chris Purley, sent me, thank you, Chris, very kind of you, an EFX hologram band, which only has one little hologram which faces your skin, and it's black. There we go. So I
actually think that ESX or whatever... EFX, that's actually the one that looks most like it's got something in it.
Possibly.
Because it's got the hologram compartment, or whatever you want to call it.
It's actually
now...
How many have you got?
Jason's got... What have you got?
6 placebo bands.
You got 6. I've got a TAM, the Amazing Meeting one, and you've got one too. Excellent. From our good friends at the Skeptical Bros. So I'm slowly building up my collection. I hope to have one of each of them, because I want to be talking about this all around the world. Oh, you're taking it apart, Joe?
Have you got a Q-link?
No, that's how you open it.
I haven't got a Q-link, no.
If you get a Q-link, can I have a go?
Yeah, sure.
Brilliant.
What about Shuzi?
We'll get to that. That's another one. But no, thank you for those people who've been sending me these
things. Put them all on the table in the same area. Will they fight it out, all the frequencies and energy?
They might float off the table.
See which one gets pushed off the table first?
I'll put them all together. There we are. They might float all off the table. So power balance,
no, they're still not moving.
An interesting story. Now, listeners, something new that's happening with the Skeptic Zone is we have a weekly newsletter which accompanies each podcast. And we encourage everybody to sign up. If you go to www.skepticzone.tv, towards the top on the left-hand side, you'll see where you can sign up for the newsletter. You'll get more information about the show, some background, some links, some tips and other things, and also what's happening on Dr. Rachael's blog, The Skeptic's Book of Poo-Poo, and lots of little things. So please, we encourage you to sign up to that newsletter. And also, if you know someone who might enjoy that, please let them know. So a big push for that. All right, now, somebody who I don't think is going to be signing up for our newsletter is Mr. Wakefield, Rachel.
Well, he's still called Doctor, actually.
Damn.
Well, you can't take away the fact that he's got a medical degree. He was struck off the medical register in the UK, but he still has a medical degree.
All right, Doctor then, but I like to call him Mr.
Yeah, we just call him Andy. Andy Pandy.
What's happening with him?
Okay, well, the listeners may know that Brian Deer, who's the investigative journalist from the UK, was the first person to investigate the Wakefield story. And he's been doing research on the Lancet paper for a number of years. And just this week, 3 articles, or a series of articles rather, are going to be published in the British Medical Journal with further evidence for what he's uncovered with Wakefield. Now, one of the ones that was published yesterday is called How the Vaccine Crisis Was Meant to Make Money. This is quite amazing, the stuff that he's unearthed in this article. It's basically an expose of the plans that Wakefield had in place to discredit the MMR and therefore make himself a huge amount of money. Now, we already knew that he got paid roughly £500,000 by lawyers who were setting up a class action with the 12 children that were then in the Lancet. We know that he also had a patent pending for a single measles vaccine, which would, once he discredited the triple antigen, then people could buy his single measles vaccine. What Deer revealed yesterday in the BMJ was that he also had a plan to patent and sell a kit that could be used to detect if kids had ulcerative colitis, which was part of this disorder that he was trying to invent through this paper. And this, Deer was able to access the business plans, and the projected income was going to be $75.2 million from sales of this kit in the UK and in America.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's quite a lot.
we previously thought that he was possibly going to make some money out of the single measles patent, and that he was making money from lawyers, but it turns out that he seemed to have money in his sights from the very, very outset. Now, the other interesting thing about this is that throughout this process, which was also endorsed by the Royal Free, which was the hospital he was employed at the time, he was apparently travelling around the world talking to big pharmaceutical companies, and they were paying for his travel. So the irony is that Wakefield is a big pharma shill.
It's too good to be true.
It is just, it's delightful, but it's also incredibly disturbing when you look. And this article is available for free on BMJ, so I recommend, if you're interested, to have a read. It's not long, it's written in layman's language, it's easy to understand, but it's absolutely gobsmacking, the length and the depth he went to get all these plans in place, which almost came to fruition, except a new guy came in to work at the Royal Free Hospital and went, hang on, this is a bit fishy.
So the darling of the anti-vaxxers turns out to be exactly what they rail against, a big pharma shill.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually Shelility, who's on Twitter, she wrote this lovely tweet yesterday saying, Dear anti-vaxxers, you know those evil scientists you speak of who sacrifice kids' well-being for money? Wakefield is that guy.
Wow.
And if you read what Deer has written, it's really, really clear that, to me, he had never had any interest in the welfare of these kids. I mean, that's the impression I get from the way Deer's written it, is that he was only interested in making money out of this and making millions and millions of amounts of money, not just a small amount here and there. So he stood to make millions of dollars. And the thing that I find so ironic about this is, I mean, even last week when Meryl was on Tracy Spicer's show and she got hung up on, she keeps carrying on about Paul Offit. Paul Offit makes millions of dollars from this rotavirus vaccine, and that's so wrong, and if he's doing that, why can't Wakefield do that? Wakefield had no interest in these children's welfare. Wakefield was only interested in making money, and all he did was harm these kids. Turns out he was getting paid by Big Pharma. He was a shill from the very beginning, and what is so interesting now is that this was published on the 11th of January. I've been waiting with bated breath for any comment from the anti-vaxxers in Australia. Of course, Age of Autism have commented. Jenny McCarthy went into HuffPo, which is the scientific journal of numpties. And, the only comment, the only sort of passing comment that's happened in Australia is the anti-vaxxers here referred to the BMJ as a newspaper. Oh, that's the best. And whether they think it's a newspaper or whether they're trying to diss it, that's pretty much the best they could come up with. And there's radio silence, because what can you say when your poster boy has been found to be a big pharma shill and has been found to have had plans to make huge amounts of money at the expense of kids' welfare? what are you going to say? I guess all you can really say is Brian Deers is set up in a hitman, like Wakefield's been saying for the last few weeks. But what?
Taking the messenger quite solidly. Merrill's done it. A few other Australian anti-vaxxers have done it. It's been predictable, shall we say?
Yeah, if they didn't sell a conspiracy theorists before, they really do now.
Yeah, well, exactly, because, I mean, this is, you know, this is not just one guy up against them now. There's a lot of evidence there, and Deer's got all the references in this article, which are personal communications and letters and stuff from people, and, you know, Wakefield keeps on saying, read my book, and like Anderson Cooper said...
On that interview from last week.
Yeah, like Anderson Cooper said, well, if your study's a lie, why is it your book would be a lie? And I've read about a third of his book, and then I had deskied so much I couldn't read anymore.
I was wondering what that red patch was.
Yeah, the cover's red too. So but it's all finger pointing. It's like, yeah, I did this, but he did it first. It's like primary school. He started it. It's no, it is. It's very much like that. So I mean, I guess sometimes you work with this stuff so closely that you get a little bit immune to reading it, and I have to admit, when I read what Deer had written, I really was gobsmacked, and for me, that's pretty impressive because, you know, you get used to reading these horrible things like the fecal transplants that the autism quacks are promoting and stuff like that. But this stuff is just explosively. Andrew Wakefield's been found out. There's no two ways about it.
You know, I when I heard that the editor. First, there were some pre-statements. Before the publication, there were all kinds of statements. There were statements by the editor, for example, who said that this was deliberate fraud. It was quite clear that they were on solid ground, so they had references for everything. I must say that I was quite shocked that it's as bad as this. Because we knew, I mean, there's all the things like you mentioned that we knew he was trying to sell his own vaccine. We knew there was something, but this is a lot worse than I thought it would be.
Can I just add to that? One of the things that really shocked me as well was that after the study came out and all the publicity occurred, he was then offered 12 months and 150 subjects and time at the Royal Free to reproduce his results, because his seniors said to him, this is so important, you must reproduce this. As scientific rigour says, it's got to be reproduced and larger sample sizes. He never took up that opportunity. He was written to on several occasions by people above him saying, where's the proposal for the experiments that we've offered you the time and the money for? They were never forthcoming. So the anti-vaxxers that say he was quashed, he was never allowed to reproduce his results, nobody gave him the opportunity, it's a conspiracy, that is bullshit. That's bullshit, according to what Deer has said. So Deer said the reason he didn't ever go ahead and reproduce them, well, if the first study's fraudulent, the second study's not going to show what you want.
I'd actually love it. Well, actually, I think he's in a bind anyway, but I would actually love it in a certain sense if he sued the BMJ for libel.
Well, Brian Deer went on Anderson Cooper and said, sue me. Do it. Sue me. He's got nothing on him, you know? So he can't, because they have the truth behind them. I mean, why hasn't he sued him? That's a good question, isn't it?
That's not the defence in the UK, though, is it? The truth. It's not.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. Well, especially in a case like this where there's clear public interest. So the only defence that that Wakefield could offer is that, or the only thing that he could offer from a legal perspective is that it's not true. He would have to show that it's not true, or for Brian Deer to prove that it is true. And obviously he has the references. He's got the references.
Deer's no numpty. He's not going to, after 7 years working on this project, he's not going to come out and make spurious claims without having all the evidence to back him up. And you know what else is really funny about this? It just makes me go lol, 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 is that Deer, I mean, the other thing is, like, the anti-vaxxers go, oh, he's a hitman, he's trying to, he's a big pharma shill, blah, blah, blah. We've already established that Wakefield was a pharma shill. Deer was heavily involved in exposing Vioxx. Yeah. In exposing the clinical trial with the monoclonal antibody where the guy got sort of elephantitis and 5 people got very, very ill. He's been instrumental in exposing dodgy practices by Big Pharma. So no wonder the anti-vaxxers have got nothing to say except it's a conspiracy.
And just to remind the anti-vaxxers out there, is we can be just as critical of Big Pharma as anybody if they don't play the game. Why would we hold back? Oh, the paychecks, I keep forgetting.
I think the thing is that, we've been watching this go on for years and years and years and years, and anyone who has been aware of the fallout from this, the appallingness of his study and everything that's happened since. I don't know, for me, I've always sat there and thought, well, I know that Paul Offutt's book is out there, and I know that Brian Deer's work's out there, but it just seems like it's always just going to sit there and have an effect on people, and there'll be people in the community who still will buy into it and who still will have mistrust in vaccines because of it. But I never thought I would see something come out at this level, which I think could do that much damage to the anti-vaccination movement, that they actually could be forced to just quietly, they'll always be loud, but I really think that this is something that could actually, for a good period of time, have an effect to show the public really how much.
You know what, Joe, I agree with you.
Especially if people like us don't shut up about it.
Exactly. The longer they go on with ignoring the elephant in the room, the more irrelevant they make themselves, in my opinion. Exactly. I mean, I remember when there were all the vaccine reactions in Australia that was concentrated in WA last year with the CSL Panafluvax, CSL Fluvax. I had the anti-vaxxers on my blog going, why aren't you writing about this? Why aren't you writing about this? And I did. I wrote 2 very long and detailed and well-researched blog posts about it, because I'm a scientist, so I know that there are mistakes made. And when mistakes are made, we address those mistakes and we correct them so that we don't do it again. This has completely pulled the carpet out from under them. And the longer they ignore that elephant in the room, the more they just look like these irrelevant conspiracy theories that you should hang up on radio.
And I think that you just get to a point where you feel like, as much as I love the internet and I love what it's done for society and our access to information, I sometimes just sit there and I think, I'm living in this ridiculous postmodern world where nothing is what it says it is, and I can't and I talk to people and I can spew facts at them and they just look at me and go, but the sky's purple. And it's like it's just such a relief to know that there's some level of hope that in fact information can be put out there that can actually change things. So yeah.
Now, I've got something... Joe, you want to say something about homeopathy, but before we get to that, a personal note from me. Thank you to all the people who sent me emails congratulating me on becoming a fellow of CSI. It's most unexpected. I'm floored and honoured to be involved with the CSI in such a high level. Just a quick thank you for all those people who wrote to me.
Can I just ask something about this? Will you be going to Miami very often now?
There's always one. There's always one. No, but I want to go to New Orleans.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, Las Vegas. No, they're having a convention in New Orleans in October.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, Joe.
Thanks, Richard. Yep. Look, there's an interesting update from the UK about about homeopathy in the UK. In 2006, there was some complaints put in about pharmacies in the UK actually promoting homeopathic vaccination. And just in the last week, I think it is, it's come out that the case against the homeopaths and the pharmacies who were actually promoting homeopathy for malaria has been dropped by the General Pharmaceutical Council.
What?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
What? Yeah.
So basically, the article, this is from the BBC News, it says that officials have dropped charges against pharmacies alleged to have advised people to take homeopathic remedies to protect them against malaria instead of anti-malarial drugs. Now, the charges have, the decision has been described as shabby and irresponsible by some who helped bring the case against the pharmacies. As most of you would know, this was through Sense About Science and also through BBC Newsnight, who did a whole investigation into this. Now, it says here that it comes days after the Royal Pharmaceutical Society said they were shocked that one of the pharmacies involved, Ainsworth's in London, is still suggesting taking homeopathic remedies to prevent serious diseases such as typhoid, polio and malaria.
Polio?
Yes.
Oh my God.
At the time of the investigation, the head of the Royal London Homeopathic Hospital told Newsnight that there is absolutely no reason to think that homeopathy works to prevent malaria, people may even die of malaria if they follow
Could
this
have
advice.
just cut that sentence off. There's absolutely no reason to think homeopathy works.
And this came from the head of the homeopathic hospital. Now, what they've said, and this is where it just becomes quite bizarre, pharmacists from 3 practices, including Ainsworth's, were set to face fitness to practice hearings, which could have resulted in them being struck off or other penalties. Now, the General Pharmaceutical Council wrote dissents about science and gave 2 reasons for this. First of all, they said that the pharmacist from Ainsworth and Anthony Pincus has taken, quote, remedial action to prevent what happened in 2006 ever happening again. However...
Admitted culpability?
Seems like it. Mm-hmm. However, last week, Newsnight showed a leaflet they were given by the pharmacy in 2010 to the Royal Pharmaceutical Society, which advertised Ainsworth's homeopathic remedies for serious diseases and said that there was anecdotal evidence that they were successful treatments.
Right.
The second point they make is that the allegation about Ainsworth's would fall below the current threshold criteria for referral to the investigating committee. And you would ask them, well, what exactly is the threshold? How exactly do they test this?
I think, Richard, this would be a good spot to edit in some chicken noises.
Wait.
Okay.
Here they are. Yes.
The test is now whether a pharmacist is being, quote, reckless with the safety and well-being of others.
Well, I class that as reckless myself.
Well, exactly, and Sense About Science says that if the regulator doesn't think that continuing to market useless homeopathic vaccinations is not putting lives, is not reckless, then there's little point in having regulation. And one of the points that was made by Evan Harris, who you would have all heard of, is that him. Yeah, I know you do. If a doctor or nurse had done this, their respective professional bodies would have instigated a full investigation for professional misconduct. Simon Singh said that the evidence was served to the General Pharmaceutical Council on a plate. I am shocked that as a regulatory body it would ignore its responsibility to protect patients. Now, one of the things I was actually going to say that was interesting, aside from the fact that, this is just really appalling on their part that they've walked away from this, is that, interestingly, we see doctors and nurses here promoting homeopathic vaccination, and we don't see them being called to task on this.
They will.
That is certainly something which I think we would like to see. But it's really quite sad to see that this case has been dropped, because really they are endangering people's lives in what they're doing, and it's just disappointing after all that work.
A big shout out to our good friends at Skeptics with a K podcast. They might want to investigate this further. I know they would be disgusted by this sort of goings on. That's a good podcast. It's a wonderful, great podcast. We'll listen to that. I said it before, but I love the music.
Oh my gosh, not again.
Speaking of
I need more singing in it, though.
Aren't we having a 1023 this year in Australia?
Oh, yes, that's right. On the 6th of February in Sydney, at 9:30am in the Royal Botanic Gardens near the Choo Choo Express, we're going to be...
Which is near the Opera House, right?
Yeah, near the Opera House. So just around the corner from the Opera House into the Botanic Gardens, you'll see us there. And from 9:30 till 10:23am in the morning on the 6th of February, come along, meet up with us, bring your own homeopathic remedies, and we'll have a nice big mass overdose.
Let's see if we can get some TV.
Sorry, can I just
go down there?
Water?
You want to bring water? That's it.
Yeah. Bring your own homeopathic remedies. That is a homeopathic.
Where can people find out more?
If you go to meetup.com and do a search for Sydney Social Skeptics, all the information's on the website there.
Excellent. Well, it's been so nice to see you all back here in our favourite club down the street. I've missed the think tank over the last few weeks. Now I know I'm back in the think tank. And it's been great to be back here in the think tank.
I'm still mayor of the courtesy bus.
Are you mayor of the courtesy bus?
I was mayor of the courtesy bus.
Listen, a big thank you to our own very dear Dr Rachael, who did Dr Rachael reports for the past 5 episodes of the Skeptic Zone. Hooray, and congratulations, Dr Rachael.
Thank you. Well, I've been bored since term, I just don't have anything to do now. So.
But before we go...
Grew a beard like me.
Oh. Well, maybe I'll do that next week.
Before we go, we do have a message that we must deliver to some good friends of ours, Jay Novella and Brian Dunning.
Yes, Jay and Brian, we thought that you'd like to know that news coming out of Queensland at the moment is that bull sharks, crocodiles, and snakes have all been sighted swimming around the shops and the streets of Brisbane.
This is true.
This is true. This is true. Yes, sharks in the streets.
Sharks in the streets. And bitey ones too. Bull sharks are
They're pretty nasty.
Bull sharks,
They're nasty.
Yeah, nasty.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but it's Brisbane.
Evans.
There's worse in Brisbane. Go to the valley for a while.
Well, listen, thank you all for coming along here. I must thank James Bastard Sheep for coming along. Thank you, James. And people can find you on Twitter at
bastardsheep.com, and also just look for No Pants.
No Pants. Jason.
Thank you very much, Richard.
And your Twitter is?
At Drunken Madman. You can find me there, or my blog, mycolleaguesareidiots.com.
And I hope they're not, but there you go. Eran Segev, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Coming along, Nurse Joanne Benhamu, thank you again.
Thank you, Richard.
And, of course, Dr Rachael, thank you again. And I see you brought little Nomington and his friend.
I did, yes. Thank you. And they say thank you as well.
They say thank you. And until the next think tank, which hopefully will be in about 2 weeks, it's cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Hey, bro.
Oh, hey, bro.
What? On your wrist? Is that a balanced power band? What the?
No. This is a placebo band.
A what?
That's right. New from SkepticBros.com. Placebo band. No more popping pills, painful needles, or smelly ointments.
Huh?
Placebo band uses two powerful, scientifically proven effects, the placebo effect and confirmation bias.
Seriously, there's no one else here. Who are you yelling at?
Placebo bands in 5 fashionable colours are available for only $2 each, plus postage and handling, from SkepticBros.com. Get yours today!
Why do I even talk to you?
I'm your brother, and Mum says you have to.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Another reminder, please subscribe to our new newsletter for extra information about the show, extra links, tips, and whatever else we feel like putting in. I'm heading down to Melbourne for a few days. Hope to see the Skeptic Zone fans down there, where I'll be conducting some interviews for the show. But until then, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.
Skeptic Zone.